Hi, good evening. Thank you so much for the wonderful welcome, and thank you so much you all for being here. I'll try to make sure that I'm not wasting any single second that you're spending with me. So, today I'm taking this opportunity to introduce you to the world from an SEO perspective. So this is how I started I started as software engineer, and this is roughly 13 years back when I wrote my first code. This is how I started, hello world. That's how you do it. So that's why I'm starting with this, because here again, I'm introducing you to the world, but from SEO perspective. So let's begin. And now here's the SEO angle. So you have a robot stack with a text file and which says user agent star, allow for the whole world. So this is what we are going to do today. That's me. I work at Omio, and when free, I do some SEO consultancy, and I speak at online and offline events as well. And I'm also hosting a webinar series called Indian Search Marketing Academy. It's a big name, so I need to recall. Yeah, that's with SEMrush. So that's about me, and I am kind of experienced international SEO, and that's why I'm speaking here on this topic. So prior to GoEuro / Omio, I was working for Trivago. So Trivago is in 55 markets with 65 domain instances, meaning Trivago is in 55 markets, but they have different language and market domain instances as well. So 65 in total. And now Omio, so we are in 24 markets with 26 domain instances. And we became Omio from GoEuro because we want to go global. Because right now we are in Europe primarily, and we want to go global, and that's the reason why we became Omio. So right now the number is 24. You would see this number growing to 50, 100, or maybe more. All right, so let's get started. So I'll start with the very, very basic point, find the target market. Because whenever we speak about expansion, or we speak about any other topic on this planet, we think about why. So let's start with why. Because if you're planning to expand, you need to know why you want to enter in new markets, right? Only then you know, okay, this is the potential I have, and this is what I can achieve if I enter in this market. So let's start with why. Find the target market. Don't go all in. Yeah, so a lot of people play poker, and after drinking for some time, they go all in. So don't do that in this case, right? So even if you have a lot of money, you have a lot of resources, don't go all in. So unless you know the potential of the market, don't enter. So for that, you need to understand the potential, because you're not going all in. You are very, very smart with the decision making. So first thing you need to do is identify languages and countries which are already bringing organic traffic for you. For that, you can use Google Analytics, and then in Audience, Geo, you can find this data, where it tells you that for your domain abc.com, you're getting traffic from US, France, UK, and many other domains. So you know the markets where you are already popular or you're getting some traction from. So that's one. And then you can also identify markets your competitors are present in, but you are not, right? Because you are competing with somebody, your competitor is present in your market where you are currently, and in some other markets which you are missing at the moment. So you need to know what markets you can cover. This is like very, very low-hanging fruit, I would say. Because you can just go to your competitors, see where they are, and then you can try to understand the demand of that market, and that tells you the whole story. So for example, in this case, I checked for Trainline on SEMrush tool, and it says they are in these markets and more. This is just a quick screenshot to tell you that you can use this tool. Well, you can use a lot of tools. There are a lot of tools in the market which can get you this data. This is just one example. So the next one, make sure you have sufficient demand. So that's again why part. So if you have enough demand in the market that you're looking at, then you have a good case to expand yourself in that market. But if you don't have demand, why to go there? Maybe your competitors are already there, they are doing okayish. Probably they did a bad job that they expanded to that market. But if you don't have demand, don't go there. Let them waste their time. So that's about the why part. And once you're convinced about the opportunity, you know there's a huge demand in this market. Your competitors are there, and you have a decent brand already there established. So you can think about going to that market. But before that, you need to answer 2 questions. So this expansion plan, the market you want to enter in, so is it aligning with your overall strategy? Maybe if you're an e-commerce, maybe you cannot sell your products in, let's say, Mexico. So there is no point, expanding your product to that market. So you need to make sure that your expansion plans are aligning with your overall strategy. And the next one, which is really important, you have enough resources to work on it. So a gentleman here just asked a question about something, and he said he's just one-man army. So if you are a one-man army, or you have a small team, or even if you have a big team, but your bandwidth doesn't allow you to expand, then think twice about it. But if yes is the answer to all these questions, and you are very confident about the opportunity, then yes, you should go and enter a new market. Maybe you get a gold mine. All right, that's point number 1. So now we know why we want to enter a new market and what's the potential we have. Second one, decide on web structure. This is really important. We have a lot of questions about it, like what structure should we use? Should it be ccTLDs or subdirectories or subdomain? So I'll try to answer all those questions now. So very first, cookies and scripts. A lot of websites use cookies or scripts to to detect your IP location or other parameters which can help them understand about the location from where you're accessing this particular website. Don't do that, because search engine crawlers come to your website. They do not give you any cookie information. So if you are using this information to redirect your user to respective website, which might be useful for the user, but it cannot be always useful for Google, because Google comes from US IP most of the time. Next one, URL parameters. So this is what Google says, that don't use URL parameters. And this is Google link. They also have URL parameters to detect these values. So wow. All right. So yeah, but this is good practice. I mean, you should not use URL parameters for languages or countries. Okay, now the big question. What should I use? Should it be country code TLDs? Or subdirectories or subdomains? So every approach has its own pros and cons. So for example, ccTLD, it's very, very specific to the market. So if you have, let's say, abc.de, then Google and other search engines know that you're targeting Germany. If you have .co.uk, then it's UK. So it's very, very simple for Google and everyone to understand which country you're targeting. But the problem with this is it's really expensive, because you need to buy a lot of domains, you need to maintain different versions of your website, and also you need to build the brand backlinks. So your favorite topic, I heard a lot of questions about that. So you need to build links for each individual instance separately. And then the next point is subdirectories, like example.com/US, right? Or /de, for example. So this is really easy to maintain. And the good part is, so if you're doing backlinking campaign, then you can make your domain example.com really, really powerful. You do not need to have multiple domains. And another good thing is brand. So booking.com, for example. So whenever anyone speaks about booking.com, they say booking.com, right? One domain, that's it. But for example, Trivago or Omio, we have multiple instances. So if we are in Germany, we would say de.omio.com. If we are in, let's say, Spain, we will say omio.es, and so on. But booking.com is just one brand. So it's really, really easy for them. And their brand team, of course, loves it. And some not so good points about subdirectories is weaker signals to search engine because it's just one directory. And another thing is, it's really, I mean, if you screw something there, then you're gone. I mean, if you're doing something wrong for, let's say, one particular market, then the penalty might hurt you for the entire domain. So be really careful when you're doing this. And then the last one is subdomains. So it's easier to maintain subdomains than CCTLDs because you do not need to get all the domains. You can have one domain and then create any number of subdomains you want. But again, the problem is weaker signals to search engine because it is not CCTLD where you have default signal and you need to explicitly add country targeting in Google Search Console. So there are positives and negatives about each of these approaches, and no approach is like good or bad. So it's up to you and and all the factors which can affect here to decide like what approach you want to follow. So that's about web structure. Let's go to languages because we have so many languages in this world, 6,500 plus languages. That's a lot. And I'm from India, and in India alone we have 22 languages. I speak like 3-4 languages? No, probably 2. Yeah. So we have 22 languages. That's a lot. So you cannot, well, ideally you should have super local content on your website, but it is not possible to have an Indian website in like 22 different flavors or versions of an Indian website, right? So let's talk about Switzerland, which is a bit less complicated than India. So Switzerland, we have 3 main languages. German is 63%. This is 2015 data. And French is roughly 23%, Italian is 8%, and then Romansh and others is like 5.9%. So if I am expanding in Switzerland, probably I'll think about German if I'm going for CCTLD with less budget. But if I don't have any budget problem, or if I'm going with subdirectories or subdomains, then I can think about German, French, Italian, these 3 versions, right? Yeah, so this is about language targeting. You need to decide what languages you are covering. Are you thinking about only German in Switzerland or all 3 important languages there? So you need to decide what kind of customers you're targeting. Again, the first step in the why section, which can help you understand about the market and demand. So if you see a lot of traffic from German in Switzerland, then you can only target that. But if you see a good share from French and Italian as well, you can think about that as well. So that's about language targeting. And here also we have 2 approaches, subdirectories and subdomains. So you can either create subfolder for your languages. For example, in case of Switzerland, you can have yourdomain.ch, which is CCTLD for Switzerland, /fr or /it or /de if you don't want to make D as your default domain. And a second approach is you can have different subdomains for this. So fr.yourdomain.ch. So again, it's up to you, and it has the same positives and negatives. All right, so now, I mean, you know what things work for you and what not. So finally, you also have web structure decided for your domain and languages. Let's go to the third and the final step where we'll actually implement things. Go local. So the idea is, if you're expanding, if you're entering a new market, you should make sure that the content you're serving is super localized. This is really, really, really important from user experience perspective. And if you are able to make your customers happy, then search engines are always happy. So ensure local experience for the users. Because non-local experience can hurt your CTR, user experience, conversions, and essentially your rankings, right? I believe everyone knows about this. This is like rule of thumb. If you're not able to serve good user experience, then you cannot think about growing organically. All right, and this is basically about check misalignment issues for your domains. In some cases, well, you would see your domain, which is not really targeted for this market, is ranking there, and people are landing on your pages and then bouncing off. For example, if you're in Germany, you're searching for, let's say, buses from Berlin to Hamburg, and then you land on a website which is in a different language, let's say Spanish, then that's a bad user experience for you, because you only speak or understand German, and this is in Spanish, so you'll quickly bounce off. So make sure you don't have any misalignment cases. Misalignment is basically when you're ranking for a different domain than intended domain. So make sure you don't have any misalignment issues, and you can use this tool, for example, to check that, which can tell you how much data, in this particular example, Trivago.de, you can see like how much data it is getting from Germany, from Austria, from Switzerland, and so on. So if the number is really, really high for all other domains than Germany, then it's really concerning for me. But in this case, it's fine. You can also emulate any location to verify. For this, you can use VPN. So I'm sure you use this because you're in Germany. So you can use VPN, or you can also use Chrome DevTools, and then this functionality where you can use sensors to change your location and then see the experience from a different location. This is really useful. And then if you're using subdirectories or subdomains, then you really need to do this. So in Google Search Console, there's a section about international targeting. So you can go there and set your target market. For example, in this case, we have de.omio.com. So this is not ccTLD, this is subdomain case. So here we are explicitly marking country as Germany because we want to target German market from this domain. And then auto redirects. This is something that I hate. So if you go to Trivago.com, if you enter this URL directly in the browser, they will redirect you to Trivago.de, and then they'll say, hey, welcome to Trivago Deutschland, and if you want, you can go back to Trivago.com. But that's annoying, right? I entered Trivago.com because I wanted to land on Trivago.com. This is annoying. Why are you just taking me to Trivago.de? If I'm entering Trivago.com, I want to be there, right? So this is annoying. I mean, I was there for 2 years, and I think I fought with them about this issue. I don't know how many times, yeah. Nothing happened. All right, so thank you so much for redirecting me to Trivago.de, but I hate it. So auto redirects are bad user experience and bad search engine experience as well. Because most of the time, Google comes with US-based IP. So in that case, if you're redirecting Google all the time, then Google will only be able to see your US version and not any other version. So to avoid this, you use some other services to make sure that you are not redirecting to Google, but that's cloaking, right? If you're doing something specially for Google or other search engines, that's cloaking. So don't do that. You are spoiling user experience, but saying, hey, Google, you know what, we are really cool. We don't do this, so come. Yeah. But that's really annoying. I mean, if you go to Google Search Console, when you fetch any page as Google, you see two versions of it. One as Googlebot, another one as normal user agent. So if Google sees you're showing them something else than normal user agent, Google will hate you. So don't do that. So that's what Google suggests as well. So avoid automatic redirection based on users' perceived language or IP location. Instead, suggest the local version. So Oracle.com is a very good example. So when you hit Oracle.com, they show you, hey, you are on Oracle.com, but we also have a Dutch version of it. Do you want to be there? So if you're interested, if you think, yes, that will be local, I would love to be there, you can just click here, or you can say, hey, no, thank you so much. But at least they are not forcefully redirecting you, which is really, really good. So localize everything that you have on the website. URLs, titles, headlines, meta tags, navigation, and everything else that your users can interact with. Everything. So users should have super, super local experience. For example, Adidas is a very good example here. So they have two versions. The top right is UK and bottom left is US. So they have same category, but in UK people say football versus soccer in US. So they have two different versions of this same page. In the UK side you say you see their men's football boots, and for US, it's men's soccer shoes. So 2 different versions, because that's what people call it there. And this is not about user experience only. It's also about demand, about SEO. Here you can see soccer shoes versus football shoes. And on the top is US, where you see this blue line going up and no competition at all, which means it's really, really popular there. And in UK, if you see, again, no comparison. There people just call it football shoes, no soccer shoes at all. So if you are fixing your user experience, you are automatically getting good growth in organic as well. So the next one, how do you tell Google about the content that your website is in? So there is this language attribute in HTML, which is the very, very first tag of your page. So there you can say lang equals to the language in which your content is. So that's one way of telling Google about the language in which you have your content. Additionally, you can also use hreflang tag if you have multiple variations of the same page in different markets. So hreflang tags can be used to showcase all the different variations you have for the same page. For example, if you have, let's say, omio.com/trains. So you have a similar version in German market as well. So you would say de.omio.com/trains, but this would be de-de. So this is basically language and country codes that you use to inform Google about this. For example, here you see, so we have href. Does this work? No? All right. So we have this hreflang tag, and then, for example, this one PL. So we are saying this particular URL is for Polish market in the local language. Some rules when you're using hreflang tags. So every page should have should include itself in the list with respective language and country code. So if you're on DE, then it should have a link to DE as well. Then hreflang tags should be reciprocal. That is, if A is linking to B, then B should also link back to A. So there should be a circle. There should be a cycle. So if Google finds this cycle missing, then the entire flow is broken, and then they're not able to link these 2 pages. So make sure you have a cycle here. So if A is linking to B, then B is also linking back to A. And then use ISO code 639-1 for languages, 3166-1 for countries. You can just Google it and you'll find all these codes. And then optional thing is, you can also use X default to indicate the fallback domain option. So for example, in case of Omio, we are in some markets, and then we have omio.com as fallback domain. So for example, we are not in India right now, but if somebody from India searches for trains from Berlin to Hamburg, they see omio.com version there. So that's the default or fallback option we have. So hreflang tags can also be implemented using XML sitemap or HTTP headers. There are 3 ways to implement this. So you can choose whatever you want to, and yeah. But be very, very careful when you're implementing hreflang tags, because this is kind of heart of your website if you have an international setup. So double verify it after implementing, and only when you're 100% sure, after checking with all the tools possible, then you think about going live. So yeah, once you're all sorted, you're confident, you know the demand, you know the potential demand, and you know the web structure, you know how to implement hreflang tags and other international SEO aspects, then you can go live. That's it from me.
Thank you so much for the talk. Does anybody have anything to ask? Any questions? There we go.
Hi, thank you for your speech. It was very nice. And can you tell about meta tags? are they still in use? Is it was about meta keywords or something like this? You told about this in 1 second. Another one question. Okay, so example, if we have multiple interface languages, and also on this website we have different languages of the content. So what language we should put into the HTML structure? Language of interface or language of the content?
Can you repeat your second question? I'm not sure if I got it right.
So on a website you can implement different like interface language, right?
Mm-hmm.
But content.
Can you give me an example of interface languages on a website?
I don't know, like for example, menu in Russian, Ukrainian, English, German.
Okay.
But content could be also can choose like content in Russian, content in Ukrainian, or
Got
German or English as well.
Mm-hmm.
But for example, if I choose German interface with English content, like or something like this, how this should be handled, something like this?
Sure. So I'll answer the second question first because that's I think a bit more complicated than the first one. So if you have a website and for every single domain you're supporting all the languages, then you would also have a mapping of your website and your core language, I believe. So for example, if you are on abc.de, you would have German as your core or primary language, and then user can of course switch to any other language they want, right? So in this case, I would consider DE or German as your primary language, and I'll focus on that for this particular domain. And another thing is, don't worry about Google in this particular case, because Google will never click on drop down to change the language. They only see what you show them. So don't worry about it. But I'm sure, I mean, if you don't have, if you have, let's say, only one domain, which is abc.de, and then you have different languages on this website, but you don't have different domains. So for example, you don't have abc.ru for Russia, but you are only supporting that language through drop-down, then you will never be visible on Russian market with that particular domain, because this is abc.de. So here even CCTLD talks about German market. Yeah. So and the first question about meta tags. So whether Google is valuing it anymore or not. So we have three things: meta title, meta description, and meta keywords. So meta keywords, I think, long time back Google said they are not using it, and no one is using it anymore. So you can just skip it. And then Google meta title. This is important from ranking perspective as well, and also from CTR perspective. And description is really important from CTR perspective only, but that is indirect signal for your ranking. Because if you have convincing description and meta title, then you can get people on your website when you're ranking. But for example, if you're ranking on number 1 for a keyword ABC, and your meta title and description looks pathetic, no one will ever click on that. And then gradually you will go down, and then you will be on second page, which is the right place to hide a dead body, right? So make sure your meta title and description is really convincing, and it's the opening door for your website. When somebody searches and you're ranking, then you are somehow convincing the user to click on your website. So meta title and description, very important for CTR. Meta title, important from ranking, direct ranking perspective as well. And meta keywords, no. Any other questions?
Anybody else? There.
So this was very useful for me because I'm a bilingual blogger. So I am targeting Portuguese market and English market, but somehow, unexpectedly, I'm targeting the US market. Like 50% of my audience is from the US, but I cannot rank in Europe or in Portugal or Brazil, for example. So I don't know what am I doing wrong, but it's funny.
You're talking about two languages, English and Portuguese.
Yes.
Do you have demand for your Portuguese content from US?
No, it's mainly like US audience, yeah.
Okay, and what is the domain? How does it look like for US and for Portuguese?
I have a subdomain, like I have an English website, and I have a subdirectory to Portuguese.
Okay, and I believe you have proper international targeting for respective.
Yes, I had this foreign tax. Yeah.
Okay. So for this domain, which is, let's say, pt for Portuguese pt.abc.com, what is the target domain you have? Target country?
I think AN I have.
I have no idea what that is.
I didn't understand the question, sorry.
Okay. So, well, the point is, if you're writing content in a language, then you should know what country you're targeting. And if you're targeting a country where you have, from where you have no demand at all for that particular language, then you're doing something wrong. So make sure you have demand from, because, for example, let's say Germany. If, so we have, one of the Indian languages we have is Hindi. So if I build a website in Hindi and then target for German audience, that will be like a bad thing, right? So even if I'm ranking, for example, here, let's say this is Amazon.de in Hindi. So really popular, like everyone loves it. And then when people see, click on Amazon.de and see everything in Hindi, they'll bounce off, right? So make sure you have right targeting for your language. And if you don't have a good connect between the language in which you're writing your content and the target market, then you're missing something.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, that was a short answer. If you have like more to discuss, we can speak after the show. Yeah.
Hi. Could you maybe talk through some of the SEO considerations that you went through with the rebrand from GoEuro to Omio? And yeah, some of the potential adverse effects that you saw and how you counteracted that in the process?
Yeah, so that was a big, big list. And Alex is also here. Alex, are you here? I think he's here. I saw him. So he was also working for Omio, and he was GoEuro/Omio, and he worked there for quite some time. And together we built a big list of things we wanted to tackle. We did everything, and then we got the visibility back for some of the domains, but some other domains are still struggling. So the list is huge. So I don't think, I mean, I can probably speak about it for another 1 hour or something, but I think that'll be we don't have that much time. So I can share that list on Twitter, like the basic list of things that one needs to consider when it comes to international SEO setup migration. Yeah, but it's a big list. So because we moved from GoEuro to Omio, and it was a complicated one because we had GoEuro.de, but we couldn't get Omio.de. So there were cases where we were changing from TLD to subdomain. And there were other cases as well, which was kind of vice versa of it. So it was a good mix of everything. It was complicated. Yeah.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, guys, for all the questions. If you have more to ask, you can just come and approach. Thank you for the talk and being here once more.
Thank you so much. It was a pleasure.
Que la famille